Welcome back to Keep Expecting Miracles. I am Ilissa,
And I'm Jessica.
and we are here with another episode. We are starting on something that we've talked about for a little while now. We want to introduce a new series to you guys on spiritual gifts. And as we were thinking about how we want to introduce the series or just, create the series, we were thinking about people that we could feature that are operating in their spiritual gifts and
Mm-hmm.
quote unquote experts, maybe, whether they think so or not, but fully operating and embodying their spiritual gifts. And so this person that we have on now is somebody that I've known for a couple of years now and spoke her up to Jessica. So it's only divine alignment and timing that we have her. Somebody who's near and dear to me that was actually in a container with me, ancestral doula training container with me. Dia, we want to welcome you to the show.
Welcome.
Welcome, Dia.
Hi, hi.
Yes,
Having me.
yes. How are you?
I'm well. I'm actually in like a liminal space right now in Morocco, which is very potent because being close to the beach, when the water meets the shore, that's a liminal space as well. That's that in between space.
Yeah.
So I'm in this space of being patient and preparing, and it's it's a lot, but then at the same time I've had to go back to my dreams to
Hmm.
help me to help ground and take it day by day. So I'm both
Yes.
excited and anxious in the same
Oh,
space.
I can relate. I can relate to that feeling. And so while
Mm-hmm.
we wanted to have Dee, I just wanted to give you guys a little bit more information about her. Diya Dannu, Masters of Arts, Masters of Education, also known as Diya Dannu, is a lineage head within the Amma, an ancestral tradition rooted in the primordial cosmic mother, expressed through the matrilineal lineages of the Akan people and the ancient Nile Valley. As a carrier of the Queen Mother's sacred office, she is a ceremonial custodian of ancestral memory, decolonial inquiry, and cosmogenic identity. Her work bridges ancestral dream knowledge, matrilineal epistemologies, and autoethnographic research to support the rejuvenation of indigenous governance, sacred leadership, and the renewal of cultural integrity. Guided by DNA remembrance, ancestral dreams, and divine inheritance, Alaya embodies a living remembrance that transcends colonial boundaries, restoring the continuum of the motherhood of matriarchy. Please welcome to our show, Diya Dannu. So that's just a little bit of info about Dia. And you are currently getting your PhD in dream work.
It's a PhD in education leadership for change. So it's education, but it's how do you enact that in the world? So that's why, leadership for change. And my focus is dream-based scholarship. We're developing dream-based scholarship to position ancestral dreams as valid sources of knowledge and information to help us deepen and expand cultural scholarship.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Wow. Yes. Yes.
Take
Wow.
it out of the hands of colonial narratives and
Mm-hmm.
for those of us that are dreamers, for those of us that hold ancestral knowledge, the wisdom keepers, to contribute to cultural scholarship in alignment with the appropriate ways of knowing. So if your ancestors are coming to you saying, no, no, this is how we've done it, this is what we do, and this is how we do it. And, the colonial narrative is like, no, it's this way. But, that missing bridge. And the ancestor says, no, you go in and you fill it in like this. And it's like, oh
Mm-hmm.
my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
How do we bridge that? How do we fill it in? And how do we take that away from colonial narrative that has done so much damage to memory?
Mm-hmm.
and lineages in general.
Yeah, Jessica and I are remembering and piecing together everything that you just said. I the first interview that we had for this show was our now friend to the show, Sarah Makiba Days, and she introduced us to Malidoma Somé, and how he puts the whole framework behind how colonialism just completely ripped us apart from what we are supposed to be, how we're supposed to operate.
And you don't
It
even
makes a
know.
lot of sense. We didn't even
Yeah.
know.
And that's the thing. So I love to tell people this. You can take anything. You can take an object, you can take a location, and you can create narratives around it. And then you can project your own knowing onto this particular thing. And to you, it's a confirmation bias. To you, it's like, oh, yes, of course, it makes sense because look, what I'm looking for, this is the missing piece. And so this is how it makes sense. It has nothing to do with the rest of these people, it has nothing to do with the location that it's in. So, no, we're not even going to utilize that. We're going to solidify my confirmation bias. And you just keep building and building and building on top of that to the point of creating an imbalance. Now, what colonial narratives don't realize is that because it's an imbalance, a system that operates on balance has nothing else to do but to correct itself. So when the imbalance gets to the point of causing such detrimental harm to the core of that system, so I'm talking about the earth itself. The earth is like, oh, no, we need to come back into balance. And so when that happens, that dominating narrative starts to break apart because in the process of writing itself, the earth is like, I need the medicine. I need all the things that'll help me feel better. And those of you that are in alignment with that, you're going to help. And those of you that are not, you're going to go. However that looks, which way that looks. But that's what that is. So for me, it's been a lifetime of remembering, right? And then just trying to figure out, well, what does this dream have to do with it? What does that dream have to do with it? And I get to Morocco and I'm like, oh my gosh. It's funny. The first research question I had, I thought it was going to focus on filling in the gaps of ancient matriarchal societies, which is helpful. And it is still happening, but not the way I thought it would. And then these three primordial mothers came in and they just started asking for very specific things, but it was connected to the Pacific Islands. And I was like, I wasn't raised over there. Like, I have genetic ancestry, but I wasn't raised over there. Like, go to the people there. Like, why are you coming to me? I go there and I see a lot. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I understand what you're asking for, and I see that it is a part of the conversation. The biggest block is trauma. It's not my job to facilitate that healing. It was my job to just to observe the human block, to listening to these subtle voices, because their voices, if you think your intuition is subtle, the way the primordial elementals communicate is more subtle than your intuition, so you can miss it.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God,
Okay.
you can miss it. And so after I went back to Arizona, I was like, well, what was the point of that? Like, because they're already having the conversations of the request you've made that you come to me for. So like, what's the point? They're like, go to Pasadena. And I'm like, I don't like LA. No, I don't like it. They're like, no, go, you'll be successful. So I'm thinking in filmmaking because they want me to do a documentary. That was the whole point of them hijacking my dissertation, right? So that was a switch. I go to LA. I'm trying to connect with filmmakers, and the next thing I know, the fires happen.
Mm.
And it was about connecting to these elements, listening to them, knowing when to go, knowing where to go, but in communication with them, not people.
Okay.
And then
Mm.
when I got settled in Long Beach to gather myself, they were like, now you're going to go to Morocco. So I'm like, what does this have to do with the dissertation? Like, I have
Yeah.
something to do. I thought I was going to do this. I get here, and it's this whole revelation about long, long ago, before humans came into the equation, there was a culture of matriarchies of mother origin. There was like the earth was a part pre-human. The earth was a part of a cosmic culture. And I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah.
Mm.
And then when humans came onto the earth, they were mothers. Like this cosmic culture were mothers. They existed all across the globe. So we took you to the Pacific Islands because it's the last space on earth to be colonized. So it's
Oh,
like the
wow.
end. Start from the end so that when you get to the beginning, the continent, you can understand the connection. And I'm like, y'all couldn't just sit me down and tell me this? No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Live
Yes.
it in order to understand it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all of that, it still ties into matriarchies, but what it truly means, not the Eurocentric understanding of it, which is rooted in dualism. It's the opposite of patriarchy. No, it's not. According
So
to,
can you explain that a little bit more,
yeah.
and just how that impacts your life, and because I know.
So ancient matriarchies, when we use the word matriarchy, I'm talking about mother origin because
Okay.
when you look at the word itself, matri, the prefix means mother, and
Mm-hmm.
archy has a lot of meanings, but its earliest meaning is origin, beginnings. So mother
Okay.
beginnings. And
Okay.
regardless of how you identify, where did you come from? Mothers.
Mm-hmm.
We all come from mothers. I don't care what you are. I don't care how successful you are. You came out your mama's womb,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
either surgically removed or through the vaginal canal. You came out your mom. Okay? Mother origin. So when we look at that, and I look at the dreams, and the dreams are talking about a pre human culture, it's like, okay, well, who's the common denominator of this pre-human, post-human? The earth. The earth was a part of a culture. People don't think about the earth as a lot of people don't think about the earth as an ancestor, as a conscious
Mm-hmm.
being. It's
No.
just to them a chunk of rock that can
Yeah.
sustain life, right? A lot of indigenous see the earth as an ancestor. But what is her story? What's her culture?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like we
Mm-hmm.
don't think about this. So the dreams that I've had talk have been speaking about this. And when I was growing up, my mom would always say, she was like, the ancestors are going to come to you. You got to listen. And I'm like,
Oh,
okay.
wow. She
So
prepared
I would
you.
listen, and we would have Saturdays just talking about dreams. What did you dream about? And if
Wow.
she didn't get it, she would connect us to an Ifa priest. And even though she was not initiated, she said she didn't like any of the traditions. Like she was like, it's just these, she would say, these powerful spirits that would just guide her. And they were the mothers, who were always there,
Mm.
right? But certain things she just didn't understand herself. So she just kind of utilized the IFA guidance up until it no longer served us, which is great. Not to knock IFA, I'm just
Yeah.
saying
Yeah.
everything has been colonized to an extent.
Yeah.
But the mothers, we would always talk about it. And it got to a point where I have an aunt, when she came to me, I think it was my 16th or 17th birthday, she goes, here's a journal because your dreams seem to be very important. And it was at this point where the family knew, like, if family crossed over, they would come to me, and then I would just go and say, hey, Great grandma's mad you left her funeral a little early. She's coming to.
Wow.
So I'm
Wow.
just telling you, so the environment that I was raised in was matriarchal and matrilineal. So the mother origin, it was always the women.
Okay.
Always the women that had the last say. Always the women that, made the final decision or made decisions or, and the men, they were just mostly, caretakers or providers of the home, made sure that the home was right and people got in trouble, take care of that. But when it came to raising of the children or
Mhm.
spirituality, it was always the women.
The women. And so they prepared you and empowered you to
My mom specifically, yeah, because
record and pay attention to your dreams as messages.
yeah, her grandmother prepared her and
Wow.
so forth. So when I use the word matriarchy, that's the context. Because in the patriarchal paradigm, matriarchy is the opposite. Women having power over, and that's no different from what we have now anyway. So when I
Mhm.
hear women saying, in particular white women, when they're like, well, we want to build a matriarchy, I'm like, but if all you know is patriarchy, how are you going to build a
How are you
matriarchy?
gonna build it? Yeah.
You haven't experienced it. You weren't raised in it. Are you talking to people that were raised in it?
Yeah.
And what type of matriarchy? What does it look like? Because even though it's a big umbrella, mother origin, how was it embodied?
Mhm.
What ways are you trying to create that? Like, what's the embodiment? You don't do embodiment, you do performative. So come now, let's have this conversation.
Mhm.
The things that I've had to say on social media. So for
Mhm.
me, I feel this dissertation is a gift, definitely a gift to myself, yes, because it's like, oh my God, I listened, I paid attention, but also a gift to the earth because there
Mm.
was a very specific dream I had where she was just like, look, this wasn't an invitation for a chemo treatment. And I'm like, your dress is beautiful, by the way. But the way she was dressed, it was just so beautiful. Um, I understand what she means. I understand what she's saying. And it's like if it was an invitation for different aspects or different consciousness in the cosmos to create life on Earth, right? And she's saying that invitation wasn't so that your creations can cause harm. I need a change in behavior. What are the conditions that were beforehand that has led her to now say, all right, this has to stop? So this dissertation, it explores that
Okay.
the pre-human culture, the things that were said and how they connect to everybody else's creation story. Because that's the other thing. People have their own creation stories,
Okay.
right? And
Yeah.
there's overlap. But what people don't realize is that that's your story for you to be anchored onto Earth. That's your story for your relationship to the Earth. That's not the Earth story,
Mm.
That's
right?
Okay.
powerful.
So, what's the Earth story? Which means, what are the conditions around the Earth's creation that set the foundation for everyone else to be here that has now misaligned, that's no longer in alignment? So, how do you get back into that alignment? You need to learn that story.
And so is that what when you work with people and you have your coaching or your sessions, your clients, is that the premise of your work with people when they come to you, or
Yeah, it's really to get them aligned
okay.
I always say to their root womb lineage, because however the healing has to happen for that particular line, that's between them and that the mothers that created those conditions.
Okay.
Once they make that connection, I'm like, you have questions, you come and ask. Sure, I'll help clarify, but you need to listen. Because
Okay.
it's almost like the cub getting reconnected to the tiger mama.
Yes.
You don't get in between that. So,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know.
Yes.
So but that's all I do, because it's not about doing things the way I do things. We're all connected ultimately to this great source of consciousness, but we all embody differently. So my work is not the same as your work.
Yes.
My way
Yes.
of doing is not the same as your way of doing. So for clients that want to do the work, mind you, I don't work with a lot of people, because when I say it's work, it's work. People don't like that.
Can you explain? Can you just give an example and explain the
Yes.
preparation and the work, please?
So when I work with women of color, and when
Hmm.
I say women of color, I mean women that have a degree of melanin. I'm and then I do separate to white women. So in particular, women of color, that translates to women of the codex, because we're more directly connected to these primordial mothers. White women have been disconnected because one of their foremothers decided to be seduced off her path. We can get to that in a minute. But so when it
Okay.
comes to women of the codex, what I say to them when they find me, and they do find me in the weirdest synchronistic of ways, I tell them, I say, look, if you want to go into Ifa, that's fine. Look at how it's been colonized, right? And I ask, who's at your head? And they're like, oh, Oshun or Oya or Ogun and Obatala, whatnot. And I'm like, okay, does your priest or your priestess, Ianifa or Babalawa, are they speaking from a colonial context?
Mm-hmm.
Did you, and so I break it down. Did you know that in the very beginning, the Irumales came down? They're like, well, what's that? I'm like, are you talking about Orisha? And you don't know the primordial ones. Come on now. So I educate first. I ask all
Okay.
these questions to see where you are, so that you can make a decision from an informed place of knowing, right? Because if I'm going to initiate you into your root womb lineage mother, it's work. You have to do the work. And what that means is, when she calls you and you know it's her, could be an aspect of the waters, it can be an aspect of the earth, it can be an aspect of the cosmos, right? It can be an aspect of a medicine mother.
Mm-hmm.
When she calls you, it will be obvious. You
Mm.
will know. You will be able to recount that experience. When that happens, I'll say, well, congratulations, you've officially been called. Now you need a pot. Now you need a shrine, an anchor for you to
Okay.
go to her, communicate with her, create your space, deepen that connection so she can tell you how to move. And then
Okay.
I'll provide you with these protective um, images that are of the red mothers, or the faded, like they call themselves the faded death, not because it's like the end of life, but it's because the end of things that need to end,
Okay.
so that new and beginnings can come through. It's like a constant field of flow.
Mm-hmm.
I'll provide you with that so that you can set your sacred space. Because when we
Okay.
work with the mothers, no matter where you go, your space is sacred. You have to set that up, but
Mm-hmm.
you yourself, you have to do the work,
Okay.
right?
Can I ask you, so you brought something to one of the trainings. It was a figure, it was a large
Yeah,
figurine. Is that
the shapely. So
yes.
that the anthropologists and the archaeologists call that the Venus of Willendorf Venus. That's patriarchal naming. So that, for me, represents my journey towards motherhood. That
Okay.
became,
Okay.
that became a shrine
Wow.
for my journey towards motherhood. And that's the other thing. In a matriarchal context, motherhood is a process. It doesn't start at conception.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pre-teaching. Like I said,
Mm-hmm.
they will call you and they will tell you, work Change your lens of spirituality, understanding what that is, taking care of your body, self-care. You think self-care is a trend. No, it's a requirement, right? What are your practices? What are the things that you're consuming? Food, people, TV, social media, what you're reading, right? So when I say it's work, the mothers will test you. Is my child ready? If she's not ready in this lifetime, we're going to see in another lifetime. And if the earth says she doesn't want her there, we're going to have to relocate her to another planet. Right?
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking at the earth as a sentient being that has her own origin story and own cosmology and own family. Right? And she's saying it was an invitation. That's like saying I have this big family member that has this huge house and a whole bunch of people came and just trashed the house. So for women of the codex, we're connected to so much knowledge that to reconnect to it, you have to demonstrate that you're in the right space and that you're ready to take on that knowledge, to use it for yourself and for the healing of the rest of your human lineages that decided to not reconnect. So that's the other thing. You connecting to them is healing those that did not or chose not to, either because they didn't have the knowledge to, because they couldn't, because of survival, which is fine. You do what you have to do. But if you're the one that's supposed to bring healing back to that, when she calls, you better answer. So I have to say, you better answer. It requires letting go. And that's the other thing when we're moving into the second category, letting go of false sense of power, letting go of false identities. A socio-political identity disconnects you from your root identity, right? The queen mothers across the entire globe, and it's a colonial translation, but for the sake of brevity, the queen mothers, they were the holders of knowledge, cultural custodians, identity. They defined that because their root mother gave them the knowledge to create and to support, right, and to nourish. So it's cosmogenic. It's not to say your socio-political identity has no value. It has value. It's helped you, right? But it's not the totality. Right? It's not the totality of who you are. It's a part of who you are. And remembering the totality of who you are pushes that socio-political awareness down to it being a thread. You're just a thread. You don't control the narrative anymore. My connection controls the narrative, which then brings in the healing, which then I can weave a more comfortable scarf, right?
I love that. Oh my gosh.
Well, but the thing is, though, people are so comfortable with what patriarchy has conditioned them to be attached to. And so when we move to white women, it's the proximity to power. Right? Whiteness, the proximity to power. But what do you have to sacrifice? Your soul, pretty much. You sacrifice yourself. And so as long as you perform in alignment to that power, you'll get whatever you want. But it's at the expense of your health, of yourself, of your ancestral connection, of balance. And it's at the expense of balance because then you're destabilizing cosmic order. But with all systems, when you get sick, your body's like, I need to fix myself. So when the cosmos is out of order, it says we need to come back into balance.
So if I want to hear from you, Jessica, briefly before I ask this question, because I'm asking, do you have any thing that's coming up? I know I see your mind moving.
I'm like soaking it all in. Okay. I think that you are about to ask the question that I'm ready to hear the answer for.
Okay.
Go ahead. I can hear it.
So if I came to you, so what I want to just because this is deep deep stuff that you're dropping here, Dia. And I want people to be able to follow, but the people that are going to be attracted to this episode are going to already be tuned in and able to track you. We have to believe that and know that. So I don't want to go far back into you explaining yourself, but I want to paint a picture of what it looks like. We're not just talking about you getting messages and dreams and knowing the future, and we're not talking about, we're talking about a deep connection to your root womb lineage and operating and living in it, embodying that. So if I came to you and said, hey D, I want to do this work. Now, I have been raised, I went to a Christian school. I have been raised in a Christian household, Southern Baptist. I am just now introducing myself, learning, educating myself on these other spiritual contexts. I am a spiritually open person. I believe, obviously we all, there's different degrees. I believe I eat healthy. I believe I operate within a certain system of self-care, but I do operate in another system. I was, within the medical system, I was a nurse. I'm in. So what does that look like for somebody like me to come in and start doing this work?
That's a good question. Because lately I've been running into women like that,
Mm-hmm.
raised in a very similar way. And their spirit's just like, that way, go that way.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing I'm going to do is, again, start asking questions about where you are so that I know how to bring in information. Because
Okay.
if I start talking about cosmogenic origins and if
Mm-hmm.
I start talking up here, your eyes are going to glaze over,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, no, and I haven't published anything yet for me to say, here, go read the book.
Right.
I would direct you to the women that have already published, and I would say, getting familiar with some of these energies
Okay.
will help open you up.
Okay.
Are there some dreams that I would also pass on to you? Absolutely, because dreams, as you've said, Jessica, are transmissions, or as I like to say, utterances, sacred utterances, right?
Mm.
And I would say, okay, well, here are 5 dreams, and I recommend that you just read once a week. Don't read them all at once. Do some arts. Here is this author. She's a woman of color. She's done decolonial work on Ifa, and these are primordial elemental energies. They're not gods or goddesses. Language. That's another thing I would bring up in the conversation.
Mm.
How do you refer to these elements? How do you refer to these energies? So it'll be, a circular conversation. It won't be linear,
Mm-hmm.
because in doing that, there are little points all along that spiral that will start to open up. And
Okay.
what's most um, evident for you to start working on will ping for you. So it's like me just speaking out a whole bunch of things, and then you'll grab onto what's most evident,
Okay.
right? So that your guides, your intuition can guide you,
Okay.
because it's like I said, we're at different points on our journey. You can't do what I do, and it's like, where do you need to be right now?
Yes.
Here's me vomiting a whole bunch of stuff.
Yes. Yes.
And then
Yes.
you're like, ooh, that looks solid. That looks solid. That's mush. I don't know what that is. So it's like, take the solid things and then investigate it. So I
Yes.
would tell you, get this woman's book, and then get this German woman's book. Yes, she's German, but she's done the work. She's called out scholars, right?
Okay.
I need you to see that in action, because when the big questions start to come and the big dreams start to come, we can sit and have this conversation. But you
Okay.
would have done the preliminary work first. So it would require a conversation. And then I would say, get this book, get that
Okay.
book. And
Okay.
then when you
How
have
do
questions,
you how do you feel about AI and the assistance
ooh,
that AI can offer with the remembering and the education?
well, there's this, it's two sides of a coin, okay? And it's a coin that will eventually be useless.
Okay.
But at this time, so the downside of that coin is its environmental impact, right? Part of me is, I've asked the mothers this question. I'm like, it's negatively impacting the environment. Like, how could I even utilize it as a tool? The response is, what is that tool doing that humans have not?
Mm.
Okay. Well.
And I'm like, well, if y'all know what's going to happen, let me enjoy the moment right now. So I
Yes.
don't ask, I don't ask questions beyond that, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the question. What is
Yeah.
AI doing that humans have not done? Who's to say a higher intelligence isn't beyond human behavior, because a higher intelligence is beyond human behavior. So that is my response to the environmental impact. I'm consciously aware of it, but at the same time, if the mothers are saying it's a tool, use it now, that's what I'm going to do. So being
Mm.
intentional of your use,
Okay.
important. Being intentional. Um, Using AI to do the work, absolutely not. It doesn't
Okay.
work. It doesn't work. Not to do the work, but to help you organize your thoughts, to help you gain clarity of your process. Again,
Okay.
bringing it back to yourself, right? Because, for example, ChatGPT, one of the biggest tools out there, I use it to help me organize my dissertation work. I
Mhm.
use it to help me to organize the dreams. Can you critically analyze these two dreams and compare it to what I've already provided you about my dissertation? And that's the other thing. What information are you feeding it? How are you having a conversation with it?
Yes.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Because if you're using it to steal from other people's work without giving credit, then it goes back to the words of the mother. How is what you're doing any different from,
Yeah.
how is the tool any more harmful than humans in and of itself?
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
so the mothers have said to me, it's a tool. The genius is in yourself. So the power you put in
Mhm.
that tool comes from within.
Yeah.
When that
Okay
tool is
now.
gone, when that tool is gone, where is that power? Not in the tool, it's in you. So
Okay.
knowing how you're utilizing it to assist your process, not to take over your process, because
Right.
you're giving your power over to it.
Yes.
And then you don't know how to think for yourself. You don't know how to stay in touch with yourself, right?
Yes.
Because you
Yes.
become addicted to a tool.
Mhm.
Yes.
So that's my take. It's, are you intentionally using it? Are you creating a field before you even get onto it? That's the other thing. Like I have
Mm.
like a short prayer. I have an intention. I've got like
Mhm.
specific altar crystals around my computer when I
Mhm.
sit down to utilize it,
Yes.
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
And when I speak to it, when I type out, it's like, can you please access our past conversation about the Queen Mothers and my literature review, because I've given it the
Mhm.
information, right?
Mhm.
Or the dreams, the past four dreams that I've had, and I go back and I name it because I've fed it my
Right.
dream.
Right. Right.
So it's building based off of what you give it, absolutely. But what are you right? So how are you prompting it? How are
Yeah.
you asking it to mirror back? So
Right.
with regards to spirituality, is it assisting your process versus is it taking over your process? Are you giving your power over to it? So that's my take on ChatGPT. The same with images. When I've used it, again, I take excerpts from my dreams, like, or sit in ceremony. That one time I sat in ceremony, I had this energetic field of SI, sentient intelligence, and the mothers, and just watch as they interface and they created these images. And I'm like,
Wow.
okay, can
Yeah.
I try and recreate this myself? Nope. And it's like when you put in prompts to make the images, I don't base it off of other artists. And
Hmm.
that's the other thing. People might think this is, mean, but I'm like, I don't take inspiration from people. I take inspiration from my dreams.
Yes.
Like, what
Yeah.
do you have that
Yes.
I need? Nothing that I feel that I would need to emulate.
Right.
Nothing. Because I
Right.
get all of it from my dreams. 20 over
Mhm.
23 years of dream documentation. Documentation. All of that creative material, that's where I pull from. So, like when I work with people and I say, like, these are the images that I use as protection, because I'm like looking around wherever I travel, I put them up. They're the ones that created themselves. They
Mm.
created themselves through the images
Yeah.
and dreams that I fed to
Yes.
this tool. So I love it as a tool because I take from myself and I
Hmm.
input, right? I know how to ask for information. I'm comfortable with my own genius.
Hmm.
If you don't have that, that's the problem. That's the problem.
That's the problem. Yes. Well, and I truly believe like it's only gonna go as deep as you can go with yourself.
Mhm.
Exactly. Exactly.
So I
It
mean,
starts here.
yeah.
It starts here.
Yes.
Right. Same with the
Absolutely.
camera. Same with the camera. It's a tool. How you know how to stand, where to stand. It's not the camera doing that. It's you,
Yeah.
Hmm.
right? You're using the
Hmm.
tools, the camera to enhance that.
Hmm.
But it's you're like, this is where I need to be. This is the time of day. Like when I go watch the sunset, I know where on the shore to be, right? To get
Hmm.
the good image.
Right.
But I also know that at the end of the day, it's the lived experience that's just phenomenal and the camera will
Right.
go but so far.
Right.
So it's the
Mhm.
same with AI.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
That's I definitely cuz have you seen the people on social media? I mean there's so many things that people are doing, but have you seen recently there's people posting about like their starseed origin and soul link messages and stuff. Have you seen that? It's just like, oh my gosh. It's almost like it's a trendy thing now that people are picking up on.
It's a dangerous trend because, first of all, where is the AI getting the information from?
That's what I want to know
That's the
too.
question.
Yeah, that's the
That's the
question.
question.
Where is it getting its information from? You didn't train a chat, first of all. You didn't train it. Where is it getting its information? And why are you believing all of a sudden whatever this thing is saying? Like, have you dreamt of it? Have you listened to your intuition?
Hmm.
Have you done the work first? How's your
Hmm.
discernment? Yeah. And this whole star seed thing. Okay, yeah, okay, so you're Pleiadian
Hmm.
and what
Hmm.
does that do to help the cause of healing? Did you
Mm.
know that the Pleiades, it's a const, it's an asterism. It's a group of stars within the constellation, which is a location relative to where you are on Earth. Did you know that? Okay, and if you didn't know that, are you aware that the beings from the Pleiades took power from the greater cosmic mother and just misused it. So now there's reparations to be had. And you're sitting here celebrating that you're from the Pleiades, but you don't even know your star history. Seriously?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Trends, I stay away from that conversation.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But it's, where did the information come from? Who
Yeah,
plugged it in? Who put it out there? Are their
yeah,
intentions good? Are their intentions in alignment with the earth? Or
right.
are you just adding to that hamster wheel of trauma and reincarnation because you're supposed to be
Mm,
getting off that? And if you're getting on that, you're not even utilizing that to help the planet heal,
mm-hmm.
and the constellations do reparations to the power source that they misuse your powers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I hear that. Did you have anything, Jessica?
Well, that is good to know. About AI. So we have our I Said What I Said segment. Your connection is so deep and so strong. And I'm just like, one day for me, as we said before, it takes baby steps to develop a connection and be able to trust in what we're hearing and listening to. Um, but for you, I want to know if the mothers have a message that they want you to share right now.
They have a lot of messages. Um, the only so there are these one-liners that would come up, that have come up over the years, and there are three of them that's just popping up. So one of them, humanity changes at the precipice of its own destruction. Um, why it takes destruction to get humanity to evolve is beyond me, but
Mm-hmm.
that's one. Like, the alternative is sacred union, but it starts again within. So if you don't like the destructive aspect, go within.
Go
But
with them.
unfortunately, your greater kinship has chosen destruction. So listen to your intuition to protect your space.
Hmm.
Um, Misogyny runs rampant. It's the poison seed. So
Mm,
understanding where inside of you have a hatred towards women, a hatred
Mm.
towards, the female aspect of the species, that needs to be healed. Because if we're talking about the pre-cultural story of the earth, it's very matriarchal. It's mother origin. So for you to have that much disdain for women is for you to have disdain for the mothers. And if
Mm.
that's the foundation for life, that means you don't like life. So
mm-hmm.
come on,
Mm-hmm.
go to another universe that likes death. Just, if that's the case. The last one, the secret of a secret is hidden in plain sight.
Mm.
The
All
secret
right.
of a secret is hidden in plain sight. Now that's a mental labyrinth
Yeah.
that you can just spend your entire life unraveling.
Mm-hmm.
But your intuition is your greatest asset.
Mm. Thank you. Oh yeah.
Yes,
Thank
thank you.
you. Thank you for
I
that.
want to speak to the first one that you mentioned about, destruction. It takes destruction to bring about balance. And I feel like either way, like going within is really the only way to dismantle that. Where I was talking to Alyssa yesterday and I was like, why does it take pain for me to bring about change? I'm like, I am not claiming that anymore. I now make change through joy. I claim change, making change in my life through joy. No longer, pain is no longer something that causes me to move, and it's like, I have to just like, you mentioned, listening, right? I knew that I had to go somewhere yesterday. So I did. I'm like, I know I have to do this, but I didn't like the turnout of what happened when I was there. And I'm like, but I knew I needed to be here. Oh, I had to be here in order for me to get in my brain the revelation of, hey, this is where you're going wrong. You need to start thinking another way. So I'm like, I had to take my body, get in my car, go to this place, and just for me to come back home and be like, oh, okay, I've been going about this whole situation wrong. And I'm like, what? I'm like, just, this message, if I was maybe, in the future in another space and time, than I am now, it won't take all that. I know now, like, it's not going to take going through pain for me to make decisions and, align things in my life that's good for me. Because it's so easy, when you talked about moving to a more matriarchal um, organization, when it comes to the way that we behave as a society and the way that the patriarchy, because it's what we know, that's what makes us feel safe. It is literally like we have to jump off of, it feels like a metaphorical cliff. Like, where am I going to land? I don't know anything other than this. And there's it's difficult to feel safe. And it's like, that's why, taking your advice of going within, like, we have to go within in order to build that safety up so that we can feel protected and feel grounded as we move about these new waters where, we don't know what we're doing, where we're going. We just have to trust.
That's,
So
and I want to build on that, because when, taking your metaphor of like being at the cliff, like the cliff and the lands behind it is patriarchy, and you're like, but I got to jump or continuously deal with this. And connecting that to what Ilissa said, well, where does someone like me begin? When you start learning about matriarchal structures, matriarchal ways of being from people who have held on to that, just you learning about it bit by bit opens up realms within, opens up your awareness to identify that knowingness in your blood. So that when you look over the cliff and you're like, I read somewhere that, the mothers created XYZ. I'm believing in that right now. So when you jump, you land on that. You know what I mean? Because the awareness of it has opened up within. So yes, this healing process is not either or, it's both and. It's all the things at once. Yes, you have to jump, but also do some reading and let it undo the things within you, so that that knowledge can come to surface and create the platform that you will land on, or that big giant bird that'll just catch you as you jump and carry
oh, I
you
love
to
that.
the next part. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
knowledge helps to deepen and broaden your awareness
Mm-hmm.
within yourself, because the mothers, they communicate through dreams, they communicate through the blood, not through written material at
Yeah.
all. It's not written language that they communicate in, it's energy and images, and in those images is that energy. That's why in the ancient Nile Valley, everything is etched etched in stone, right?
Right.
The images hold the container for that energy.
Mm.
So it's all energetic. That's how they communicate, and that's how they teach. They teach by learn by doing. That's their thing. So they're going to kick you off the cliff one way or another.
Gosh.
Well,
Yes.
Birds do that to their
no,
young.
look, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
you are 100% right. As much as I don't want to be kicked off the cliff, I'm like, really? This is where I gotta be? This is.
Yeah, but see, but as you learn about them, that familiarity will open up in yourself. So when they give you the boot, you're like, I got my parachute because I made it from the stories that I remembered after reading about XYZ. So you see how that
Right.
works?
Yeah.
Do you have any
Yeah.
books that you could recommend to us right now?
Oh, yes.
Top three?
Well, there are three. I wish I brought them out. They're in the room, but um, The Architects of Existence,
Mm.
The architect of
okay,
existence.
by
Okay.
Teresa Washington.
Okay.
You know, if people are boycotting Amazon, you can get it off of Abe Books,
Okay.
abebooks.com. It's a used book. Architects of Existence. I always recommend that book, in particular to women of color. I'm like, look, you need to reorientate yourself to
Okay.
these primordial energies from a non-patriarchal perspective. Um, the second one is Matriarchal Societies. Um, Dr. Haiti Gyotner, that's the German woman. Um, I want to pull it up right now because her book, what I appreciate about her book, as I've said, she's, yes, a German scholar.
Okay.
However, she calls out other scholars, they're all white, about their sloppy scholarship
Mm.
on matriarchies. And these matriarchies are on indigenous societies.
Mm.
So we've got societies from Turtle Island, North America, Africa, and East Asia, and Oceania, the Pacific Islands. So that I recommend as well. Somebody uploaded it online.
Mm.
So if you don't want to get the text, archive.com,
Okay.
archive.org has a PDF version of it, but
Okay.
it's Matriarchal Societies, Studies on Indigenous Cultures Across the Globe.
Okay.
That will help um, what your blood already knows to awaken in your awareness.
Okay.
That is especially Teresa's work, Architects of Existence. Having those two books, you're going to read the first 5 pages and then you're going to put it down. And you're like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And then you're gonna pick up the matriarchal book and you're gonna, I don't know, pick a location, you're gonna read a whole chapter and you're gonna be like, oh my goodness, I know this is
Mm.
true. And then you're gonna go back to the other book. It's those two books taken together, you're just gonna go back and forth. You're gonna be like, wow, I
Okay.
knew it. I knew it.
Mm.
I knew
That's always our process. When me and
Yeah.
Alyssa start talking about the stuff we learn, we like, okay, we got to put this down. We need to process because
Yeah.
it. And then the third one, I think a lot of people may have heard of it. It's the late Mama Zogbe, Sybil's, her book. It's called Sybil's. You can just like Google Mama Zogbe and Sybil's.
Okay.
That text is a mixture of her knowing, her already, her sacred knowledge when she was alive as a priestess.
Mm-hmm.
So she doesn't have direct references for you to go and look at. Me being bridging academia and spirituality, I'm
Mhm.
a sucker for knowledge. So if you're going to say something, I'm like, oh, where can I get the original material? Because that's how I was raised, not just my academic training, but that's how I was raised
Mm.
by the mothers. They said, always go to the source, always go to the
Right.
beginning,
I remember you
Mm.
always said that in the training.
right?
You always said
So,
that.
so Mama Zogbe's book on the Sibyls talks about the early prophetesses of the mothers and how Christian religion co-opted and corrupted a lot of the Sibyl's prophets and turned it into their own. So for those that were brought up in Christianity, it's a good history lesson for you to look at and say, wow, okay, this is why I'm so attached to the Bible. While at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, I have a love-hate relationship to it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because you'll probably recognize in your blood, it was stolen. It was stolen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I
but if I
already
were to,
recognize that. Mm-hmm.
if I were to pick one book, it would be Architects of Existence.
Okay.
Like
Mhm.
definitely, like get that first.
Okay.
Give yourself time to process, and then hop into matriarchal societies after that, because that just disproves the whole, oh, matriarchy didn't exist. The earth is 4.4 billion years old, give or take 200 million years, and then the human species is about 3 million years old, and then you want to tell me Matriarchies never existed. You even know how matriarchies operated? Did you do the research? No, then shut your mouth, go get educated, or leave.
Oh my goodness, I love you.
Seriously. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. Show me that you're doing the work. If you're not going to show me you're doing the work, I'll tell you what to do. If you don't like it, then be quiet and go. Like,
Yeah.
go. Just go. Because you're not putting in the effort. You're being stubborn. You're attached to the tit of patriarchy.
Yeah.
Leave. Go away.
Oh
So
my
funny.
goodness.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
hey,
Oh
we
my
need
God.
comedy.
Yes.
Things are just things are crazy. You need a little bit of comedy, but yes.
Yes. Yes. And so, in your preparation, you speak about obviously being preparing in your waking life for your to have your dreams. Have there been any herbs? Because we also have a segment, because Jessica and I are just drawn, within our blood, we're drawn to herbalism and working with plants. Have there been any plants that you've aligned with to prepare for you?
Yeah, I love that they come to me in my dreams because then that means I have permission to work with their energies. Um,
Mm.
Believe it or not, Rose came to me early on. So rose is medicine. I love rose. I eat it on
Mhm.
my like dried rose petals in my salad and my cacao. I snack on it. Mugwort.
Mm.
Mugwort, somebody, one of the mothers put it in my mouth, like on my tongue, and I speak,
Mm.
and then I would speak. So for me, that's my relationship to mugwort,
Mm-hmm.
rose and mugwort. Um, there's one more, and Ishel. She's the primordial mother located on the Yucatan Peninsula.
Mm-hmm.
She's primordial mother of midwifery and herbalism
Mm-hmm.
and herbal medicine. She showed me how to work with chamomile,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
right? So those three I like to work with. Coffee bean, that's medicine for me. So I can't have coffee like how everybody else does.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like when I know something's going on physically, I'm like, oh, let me go into the Medina and get my medicine. And
Mm.
I know which ones to get. So the coffee bean has been presented as well. So that's if it comes to you in dreams, that's all the more,
Wow.
Mhm.
more potent
Wow.
relationship you have with it. And it's probably also a plant ancestor. So it's like
Oh,
you
I think.
have the permission to work with it in ways other people cannot. Or synchronistically in your waking life, you just keep running into it and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, what's going on with this? That I would recommend you buy some, you set it on an altar or create an altar for it and just communicate with it like you would with your houseplants if you have houseplants until it comes to you and says, okay, here's the medicine and here's how I want you to work with
Mm-hmm.
me. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
Wow. Yes.
Like
Yes.
ayahuasca. She came to me and I'm like, I am not going anywhere near you. But she's shown up when I've sat in ceremony with cannabis. And I'm like, why are you here?
Mm-hmm.
Like, stop calling me. I will come to you when I can, but you're a scary herb. So let's just leave it at that. Well, I've had experience with her sister, which is Jurema. Jurema is sister to ayahuasca, same type of properties,
Mm.
and that was through synchronicity again.
Mm-hmm.
So when ayahuasca was like, "Oh, hey, come see me," in my dreams, I'm like,
Yeah.
mm. When it's time, I
When
will
it's
come to you.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, I mean, this is very elementary, the question I'm about to ask you, compared to what you're talking about. When people say, I want to, remember my dreams, or I want to dream more. And do you recommend I mean, obviously there's no shortcut and the work has to be done. Um, People that are, that recognize, because I mean, the reason why we're having this conversation is would come to Jessica in high school and oh, I dreamt about this, Jessica, what does this mean? Like, Jessica's a dreamer. And then my family has always groomed me too, like we know our dreams, like people from the family come to us in our dreams. The dreams that my mother has had, the same story that you described, for me is the same, and I know that I'm going to be doing the same thing for my little girl in a couple of years too when she comes to me with her dreams. And so how do we prepare our kids? That's my whole thing, is like, how do we prepare our kids to receive the messages?
Tell them that when they're sleeping, if they see images in their sleep, those are dreams and those are important. So try to remember, like, encourage them to remember. Don't shut them down at all.
Mhm.
You know, if they're like, I had a bad dream, stop, give them the undivided attention and say, well, tell me what the dream was. And we can talk about whether or not it was bad. And you can ask them, well, why do you think it was bad? Because you want them to talk about how they were feeling, right?
Mhm.
So you don't want to negate any of their dreaming experiences. You want to support it. Also, if you've written down your dreams, make it like a bedtime story type of thing, you know? Like, you like, I have a story to tell you, and you can share one of your dreams. And if they say, well, that's a weird story, and you can say, well, it was a dream. And so maybe that dream will help you with your dreams. You know what I mean? Like, get into the
Yes.
mindset of
Yes.
the
I
child as
love
well. Because I
that.
know for me, I've got so many journals, and I'm like, these are all bedtime stories from whenever I have babies.
Yes.
Right?
Oh my gosh, I love
So
that.
how do you cultivate that? Support that. Tell them to draw it. You know, if they're running around being children, be like, you know what? Here's some paper. Here's some color pencils and crayons. Can you draw some of your dreams for me? Just because you're running around acting a fool, and I got some work to do. But
Yeah. Yeah.
draw your dreams for me, right? And that just provides an anchor for them
Mhm.
subconsciously, so that as they
Mhm.
get older,
Wow.
it'll just be a random thing. Mom, I had this dream. It's hard for me to tell you. Can you draw it for me? Can you
Mhm.
sketch it for me? Can you build some blocks? Can you do something so I can help you? That's how you just create that bubble of safety to
Mhm.
let them know that's normal and it's important. And tell them not to share with their friends if they can try and not to, because the outside world will be the first place to shut that down.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
if it's not shut down at home, if it's shut down at home, outside will reinforce it.
Yeah.
But to just let them know people are not going to want you to remember, but it's so very important that you remember. So these are very, very precious.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for saying that. And I mean, I wouldn't put much significance, or if I didn't grow up in a household that believed in what you're saying, the same thing is, these are messages, and we are connected to divine guidance. If
Mhm.
my auntie's mother, grandmother didn't tell me the same exact thing. And so I mean, obviously I don't do that type of work, but knowing that I am connected and that I do have that ability, it brings me comfort. And I know that it's passed down. And so
Mhm.
thank you for sharing that, because I mean, I would this is I mean, I've shared this already on the podcast. Like, I've had a dream, that has to do with my husband's family, and I would share it with his family because, this is your family. I want to tell you this. And they're just like, well, do you think that's real? I'm like,
Oh, uh,
yes. If I didn't have a strong belief system, if wasn't the person that I am, like, I would completely just put that out of my mind. I'm like, this is real.
Yeah.
yeah, my extended family. I don't talk to them now, but because of that, my extended family consists of veterans from the military, lawyers,
Mm.
right, and
Heavily
educators.
programmed people.
Yeah, the educators, like the school teachers, they're a little more open,
Mm-hmm.
um, and nurses, So and it's always been the male lawyers in the family. It's like, well, that's not my belief, and I follow a very different path. So yeah, I know you're Christian, and you come from a family of dreamers. So I'm just letting you know, whether you
Mm-hmm.
like it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
passing the message along.
Yeah.
Oh, you gotta fake it till you make it. I'm like, I ain't faking nothing.
Mm-mm.
What?
That's how I was raised. That's
Yeah.
not
Mm-hmm.
how you were raised. I acknowledge that. But this is the message that came through. And that's it. That's it. Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I know that. But thankfully, my mom, whew, I always give her praise. Thankfully, she was the one that kept reinforcing it, because
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the rest of the family, I'm just like, yo, whatever. You'll take the message, but then you'll criticize what I'm
Mm-hmm.
Right.
doing. Mm.
Mm-hmm.
I want to shout out my mom too, because as you were saying what to do, to have them tell us our dreams and make space and listen, I'm like, wait, my mom did that for me.
Yes.
So, and there was a time when, like, as a teenager, my dreams were, woof. You talked about, a deceased family member coming to visit after they've passed. Like, I had that happen with my own grandmother, my mother's mother, where it was
Mhm.
like a few days later, she was sitting in the living room and in my dream. And so I told my mom this, and she said, "Oh, she just came to check up on us." And I'm like, "Oh shoot, she don't think I'm crazy." I'm like, you know, I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, so I think Alyssa and I had a good setup there, which is more than likely why we're here and why we even have space for all of this and to return, to our ancestors and to listening to the mothers.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I'm very grateful for that.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
I
Yeah,
love
we
it. I love it. Because it's so very important. It's so important. I tell
Hmm.
people, especially the ones that say, "Oh, I don't dream." I'm like, everybody dreams. You just don't remember.
everyone,
Yeah.
yes,
You
everyone. So
don't.
what it's very what rituals I'm sorry, I'm having a whole bunch of thoughts, but what rituals what practices do you have that keep you grounded? Um
To remember.
to remember, yes. Yes.
I mean, because it's like breathing to me. I I don't do anything specific, but hygiene. So when I say hygiene, decreasing the noise or
Mm.
in my environment.
Mm.
Sometimes you have no control over that, like the space I'm in now. Like, I'm in an Islamic country, so they have a call to prayer, right?
Mhm.
So it's like when I hear that early in the morning, that pulls me out or that disrupts.
Mhm.
And so what I have to do is keep a conscious reminder before I go to bed while I'm sleeping.
Mhm.
Call to prayer is coming. Remember where you left off. Remember this part of the
Mm.
dream. Just remember, because I will forget. And when I wake up, if I don't spend time recalling the last image and then moving backwards from there until it sticks for me to be able to verbally articulate it, I'll forget it until I start moving around. So it's like movement also helps with memory, like moving around in my day to day or going back to my work. And I'm like, oh yeah, something triggered the memory of the dream.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But keeping a conscious reminder of needing to remember your dreams, having something by your bedside, a recorder. I recommend a little mini recorder, because it's like the easiest and fastest thing. Um, but being mindful of your environmental hygiene, like noise and noise pollution, and sleeping with earplugs if that helps, or you know what I mean.
Okay.
So it's different for everyone, but
Mhm.
that's what I do. Because for me, I'm like dreams are necessary. So,
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
I'm glad that Alyssa asked that question, because I was just telling her, I'm like, I know that I live my life through dreams. Like, I get
Mhm.
directions and everything, and I'm like, when it stops, sometimes it'll just stop. I'm like, well, dang, I don't remember my dreams. Like, what's going on? And that is exactly what I have to do. I have to quiet myself. I have to like keep telling myself, hey, okay, we're gonna have dreams, and we're gonna remember what they are, and just asking, okay, come back. I'm ready
Yes.
for them.
Yeah. And stress is the number one blocker for that.
Mm.
So if you're stressed in life, your dreamscape is just going to be the darkness, pitch
Mm,
black, the void.
Mm.
Like,
that's depressing.
okay.
I feel
Yeah,
that.
no, I mean, I've
Yeah.
had it happen to me a couple of times, and
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, I can't do this. No, okay, what do I need to do in my waking state to get that back? At least get that
Hmm.
back, because
Mhm.
that's how I'm guided.
Mhm.
Like when I got to Morocco, the first 9 days, I kept having dreams, and mothers were like, "You gotta leave, you gotta leave," and I'm like, "I just got here. What are you talking about?" But that wasn't for immediately. It was for the week after that. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I do have to leave. So,
Yeah.
so it's like that. I depend so much on it, especially when I'm in a foreign country.
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
depend on being guided by the mothers, and when I say ancestor, that's who, for
That's who you
me,
mean. That's who
that's
you
who
mean.
that's who I mean, because of the nature of my being, the nature of my spirit is very cosmic. So ancestors, I'm talking about them, right? The human ancestor, that's a different story. When I tell people, I don't know if I have much time for this, but when I tell people, or when you hear people always say, when you're here, you have to do your work, right?
Mhm.
And they're like, oh, don't wait till you get to the other side to do your work. When you're here, if you don't do your work here, yeah, you have to do it on the other side. But guess what? If you don't do it on the other side, you got to do it when you come back. But if you come back, you forget that you had the work to do. So guess what? You forgot to do the work. You see
Mhm.
that cycle,
Mhm.
right? It's
Mhm.
an endless cycle of forgetfulness. So if you have a family member that's born into the line, or a soul that's born into the line, because you keep doing this amnesia, cycle of amnesia, that person's like, oh, nope, we're stopping it. I'm going to keep doing the work. When you get to the other side, and the person's like, I'm going to keep doing the work.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep doing the work. I'm still doing the work. Eventually, that person, it will click, and they will start doing the work. And I say that because my mother just had that experience of a
Wow.
dream of her mom. So her mom was Christian, devout Christian, okay? Black
Mhm.
church and everything, but
Mhm.
New York City.
Mhm.
When she passed, she was the matriarch of the family. When she passed, everything fell apart.
Mm.
I would have dreams of her showing up, like begrudgingly, to bear witness to a ritual that I had to go through in dream time. And
Mm.
I would say, well, why is she here? Oh, yeah, she's my grandmother. She's a part of the mother line. Right. And she's like just standing there, like, what am I doing here? You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
then my mom would have similar dreams, or she would have dreams of conflict. And she's like, why is my mom showing up? Like, and she didn't even say anything. I was like, because she's still tethered. And she's like, but I thought when you go to the other side, you do the work. I said, not really. Unless you are highly spiritual in this realm, and you did all of the work, you've become ascended. When you go to the other side, you still have to do the work.
Mhm.
And if she's not doing the work, that is on her. But your
Mm.
choice to do the work makes the difference. So recently she had a dream. Remember the Venus figure you mentioned, the one that I brought? She said, I had a dream about three of those. One of them was the mother, and two of them were the daughters. I was like, oh, really? And she goes, yeah. And then my mom came in, and she had this bouquet of these beautiful flowers, but they're like long tubular flowers. I was like, oh, they're probably calla lilies. They're very sacred to the mother. She was like, yeah, she went and she gave the flowers to these women for Mother's Day. And I was like, why is she doing it for Mother's Day? I said, Mom, your mom seems to be honoring the mother line,
Mothers.
right?
Oh, wow.
And then my mom comes to me later in the day. She goes, "Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you. I heard two names in the dream, Rachel and Sarah." And I was like, "Oh my God." I was like, "Ma, she finally did the thing. She's honoring her mother line. Just because she was your
Wow.
mom doesn't mean you both have the same root womb lineage mother,
Right.
right?"
Right.
I was like, she's honoring Ashera, Sarai, Rachel.
Mm.
And I was just
Wow.
like, yay, she did the damn thing on the other side. Sorry. Because,
No,
Yeah.
you're
and I
fine.
said to her, I said, because I'm doing the work.
Because you're doing the work.
And I was like, and you're doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
And you've been complaining to the mothers about her showing up, not doing the work. And so now she's honoring her root womb lineage, which is
Wow.
exactly what we needed to continue onward because
Wow.
she was your mom and she's a part of the mother line. And we're really heavy on the mother line. so all that to say, for those that are listening, when you say, "Oh, I can do it in my next life," your next life is when you transition.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't do it on the other side, you're going to have to reincarnate to continue doing it. So that's two lives, right? And then you forget because the conditions of the earth is amnesia of reincarnation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why these light workers, when they come in to do the work, it's to help everybody because people on the other side are not doing the work and
They're
they
not
come and they
doing the
say we're
work.
going to do the work and they forget and the
Mm-hmm.
cycle
I
continues.
tell Jessica that all the time. This is my last reincarnation. I'm not coming back. I need to do everything that I need to do now. I'm not coming back.
You
My
sound like my mom.
soul knows that it feels it and believes it. Let
My
me.
mom did the same thing. She said, "I'm not coming back here." I said, "Well, that's why you were born closest to the well. That's why I came through you because you were like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm gonna just do what I
Right.
need to do, and that's it."
Mm.
Because people think, "Oh, well, I'll do it when I get to the other side."
Mm-mm.
Hello, you chose not to take the examples around you to get on to doing the work. You chose to stick to your comforts and you're like, "I'll do it in my next life," thinking it's when you come back. No, your next life is in your afterlife.
Yeah.
You're not doing it there. I'll come back and do it here. And you're assisting the cycle of amnesia, which is also contributing to trauma.
Yeah.
Oh,
Therefore,
yes.
the
Yes.
monster beast is winning because you're not doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
Do
Thank you.
the work.
Wow. Thank you,
Do the
Dia.
work, folks. You have to do the work.
Yes. Thank you. Beautifully
Don't
said.
don't think we do it on the other side because if somebody's not doing it here, you're not. You're
Yeah.
doing the work of being part of the problem. Do the work.
Yes.
Yes. Wow.
Thank you. That was definitely I needed that. I mean I
Mm-hmm.
am, trying to do the work and I want to do all the work so I don't have to come back. But thank you for sharing that because that was a message for me and my family. And oh my goodness, I felt that so deeply. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That when she shared that with me, I was like, yes, because I needed an example to share, and I was just like, when people transition, are they doing the work? Because I'm like, I can't peek over and see. It's not
Mm-hmm.
my
Yeah.
business. Right?
Mm-hmm.
They would say, what you looking for? You focus on where you are.
Yeah.
Stop trying to peek. So
Yeah.
for my mom to say, oh, my mom went and honored the mothers. I'm like, those are her mothers that she needed to honor. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
So happy to hear that because like you said, the message you needed to hear, the message all of you need to hear. Do
Yes.
not think in your next life, as in you think in your reincarnation. No, your next life is your afterlife. If you're not doing it here, good luck because you're not going to do it over there
Mm-hmm.
unless somebody here is doing it with you.
Yeah.
And don't depend on that. Do it.
Do it. Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, that was so good. Thank you, Dia.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Thank you for
Yes. Yes, yes. Please share where people can find you on
Oh,
social media.
Yeah.
okay. So on Instagram, I'm not as active as before, but I'm still there. Um, House of Amma, and it's AMMA.
Okay.
Um, it's the same on Threads,
Okay.
right? And my website, houseofamma.org. You
Okay.
can contact me through email if you're like, oh, I want to talk to you. Like, okay. But yeah,
Yes.
you can find me online.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This was, oh my goodness. I'm going to be processing. I have a belly dancing class within like 40 minutes from now. So I'm going to be moving and processing.
Yeah, oh, that's perfect. It's gonna be moving throughout everything and moving and oof. I'll be curious about your dreams tomorrow or for the rest of
Ooh, yes.
Yes.
and
Yes.
whatever intuition comes up when you take a shower too, because water does that. Water moves memory as well. Oof, girl,
Yes.
you
Yes.
chose today.
I know. I'm excited. Something kept telling me register for the class, register for the class, register for the class. I'm like, it's on the day.
Mhm.
And then you pick today. I'm like, okay, I'll go right from the recording to the class. So perfect. Perfect.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
Thank you
welcome.
again.
Yes, please visit our Instagram at Keep Expecting Miracles Pod. You can email us at keepexpectingmiracles@gmail.com. We are also Keep Expecting Miracles on YouTube. Send us DMs about manifestations, herbs that you're aligning with, guests that you want to see. If you guys have suggestions about who you guys want us to talk to and meet with here on the show, please send them our way. We thank you guys for listening and we hope that you join us again. Thank
Yes.
you. Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes. All the
All
books I'm
right.
also going to make sure that we have in the description.
Great,
So listeners can go ahead and find it there.
great.
Yeah.
And if either of you have any questions that pop up when you're reading, just send me an email.
Oh,
I'm
thank
more than
you.
happy to explain,
Yes.
provide an explanation if I can.
Yes, thank
So,
you. We appreciate
mhm.
that. Thank you.